Well, first of all, I want to say several thank yous. Wally McDaniel came to me 3 freaking years ago and said he would be interested in coordinating a room display on table sets. So he packed up all his table sets 3 years ago in boxes, and we canceled the convention. Did you unpack your boxes, Wally? Yes, he did. So then 2 years ago, we're going to have the same. We're going to go on with the table set display. Or 1 year ago, and that was canceled. So Wally. And so this year, here it is, 2022, 3 years in the making. And, you know, this doesn't happen overnight. Wally coordinated with several donors to bring in as many complete table sets, and these are US-made, classic era, 4-piece table sets. I want to thank Dave Noyes and Sue for driving from Florida to be here with us. I want to thank Dave Castor for bringing table sets. Hi, Dave. I want to thank Rod Capps. Wave, Dave. I want to thank Bob Grissom for his table sets. Steve and I brought table sets. I want to thank Sandy Sage, who gave a butter dish to Emmett and Dorothy. I want to thank Carl Booker. Thank you. And of course, I want to thank Wally and Maxine. If you ever, when I walked into their room on Tuesday night, and I'm like, where the heck did you get that many banana boxes of all the same type? But there was a stack of them. I also want to thank the people who put together these risers. It's no small feat. Steve and I were gone Wednesday morning to go visit Don Keim. And we came back thinking that nothing would be done because the idea is that we would set them up that evening. So Steve and I walk in at 3 p.m. and it's like, you guys are done. And, you know, that was such a relief. So I really want to say thank you to Chase. Steve and I did help a little. I want to say thank you to Dave and Sue. How's your finger?
I'm going to live.
Okay. Phew. A little industrial accident. Occupational hazard. I want to thank Galen and Kathy and Tony and Mary Jo for all the help in getting these risers, tables, tablecloths. I always used to be amazed when Bob Grissom would just walk into the back room and come out with tables and come out with tablecloths. Well, guess what I was doing? I was just walking around the back. I also want to thank Jim and Jan Sieg. Several of the table sets here tonight are part of the Bob Grissom collection and will be included in tomorrow's auction. And this was supposed to happen 3 years ago, so the table sets were supposed to come from Bob and go back to Bob. But in the meantime, Jim and Jan picked up Bob Grissom's collection, which will be part of the auction tomorrow. And so we had to coordinate through Jim and Jan that those table sets were in separate boxes so that they could be unpacked and put into the display. And then at the end of this, they have to take those table sets and bring them over. So Jim and Jan are obviously busy. And I want to thank the people who spent the time to be very organized and unpack box after box, label, make the little cards, get them in alphabetical order, get them so that we knew whose was whose. And I want to thank Wally and Maxine, of course. I want to thank Burnett.
I was going to say they helped with the writing.
Who? Wally and Maxine. They were, we couldn't have done it.
They were everywhere doing
Everything. Yay. Burnett helped organize table sets. Dave and Sue were helping. Dave Castor was helping. Carl Booker was helping. Rod Capps was helping. It really doesn't happen without helpers, especially something as aggressive as this. Thank you. Thank you. So a lot of thank yous to a lot of people. And I also want to thank you all just for simply being here. Thank you for showing up and taking your time to come to a convention. It's been a long 3 years, and we're really excited to be doing this. So I said to Wally, so you're going to organize this, and you're going to pack this, and you're going to be the coordinator, and you're going to talk to it. And Wally said, hell no. So I said, okay, I don't mind getting up in front of people. However, I am not a table set expert. So Wally and I talked on the phone, and what we decided to make as a handout is what you have today. It's a list of 37 classic era 4-piece table sets. Now, is 37 the actual correct number? Well, maybe, maybe not. This, there was a table set display previously at HOACGA where I think they had like 34 sets, and today we have 37 sets. Some of the new additions are Apple Blossom by Northwood in an enameled table set, and also the Magnolia by Fenton on a smooth raised blank are additions to our list. So we will go through patterns, 37 of them, a couple minutes on each. We'll be out of here by noon. But the way the handout is organized is that we have on page 1 through 31, Carnival glass table sets. These are various colors, complete 4-piece sets, hopefully. No, nothing's perfect. There's a couple 3-piece sets. On the back page, we have non-carnival. You'll see in the non-carnival group, number 32, Hobstar and Feather, is a carnival glass table set. We may not have it here today. We also have orphans on either end on the table. These are pieces that Wally would really like some help in finding the missing pieces. But they're pieces that either one shape is missing, or just it's known in the wrong. They have that shape, but they don't have it in the right color. So they're trying to put together a 4-piece table set all in the same color, of course. And then we have no complete sets known, and these are pieces where a butter dish exists or some piece exists, but we have yet to find a complete 4-piece table set. And then the very last one is not included in the display, Stork and Rushes, but we do believe that it is a table set that you can find. So I'm going to start with a little slide presentation because I like them. So if you go into the Butler Brothers catalog and you look around, in the very beginning in 1905, here is Imperial's file, and it's all the way down there. But this is an advertisement for a piece of crystal. It's not iridized, and we collectors did not invent the name table set. Here it is advertised in 1905 as a heavy cut table set, and it shows the 4 pieces that we think of as a table set. 16 cents a set. in 1905. So that's pretty good. I dream about time travel. Going back and just, going to the factory and say, I'll take one of everything, 16 cents. In 1905, we have a file. So here it is in crystal. So Wally and I were talking, when did crystal, and we have crystal examples on the far side. So they were making crystal sets in 1905. So if you advance. But here we have 1910. We actually have an advertisement for iridescent. 1910. This is Northwood's Grape and Cable. And a lot of the sets that you see advertised in the Butler Brothers came in a complete package of a dining set. So a dining set is a table set, berry set, and a water set. So you buy the whole set, you would buy a dining set. And that's how they marketed things. Of course, they sold whatever they could sell. If you only wanted one piece, they'd sell it. I'm sure they would sell you anything you wanted. But they were marketing it as a dining set. They were trying to buy the whole package. So there's 6 sets in this barrel. 2 sets, 2 water sets, 2 berry sets, and 2 table sets. And they do call it a table set. And they also, at the very bottom on the left, they say covered butter and sugar. So both the butter and the sugar are covered. A spoon holder. So we call them spooners, but here they're calling it a spoon holder. But a spooner is a correct name, and they call it a creamer. So here you can buy it. In 5 years, it's gone from 16 cents a set to 59 cents a set. Now, 59 cents is not the dining set. 59 cents is the table set or the water set or the berry set. Because there are 6 sets in the barrel, and each set is 59 cents. So if you wanted to buy the dining room set, it's like $1.70 or something. So we've gone from 16 cents to 59 cents. I do think iridescence increased the price because you would see 2 ads in the same year, and the iridescent sets are always a little bit more expensive. So if we move along. So here we see 1911. So we have 1910, they're making iridescence. 1911, that is a Dugan maple leaf set on top. And what's interesting is down below is a Peacocks at the fountain set. And that appears in Butler Brothers in 1912, 13, 14, and 17. So it kind of gives us an idea of when these were being made. And obviously, the Peacocks at the fountain were pretty popular because it kept on being advertised. They must, they don't advertise unless they're selling something. So it must have been a popular pattern. And that's a Northwood set. And it must have been popular because we know that Dugan copied the water set and in Peacock at the fountain. So it gives you an idea of the time frame, the 1910s. Here the top set is 67 cents, the bottom is 62 cents. So, but another thing about the Peacock at the fountain, because they made it in such a long period of time, and that's 5 years, but you'll notice that there's quite a few different colors in Peacock at the fountain, all the way across the top here. We have it in marigold and purple and blue and white and green and ice blue. So because they made it over a period of time, it shows up in several colors. Okay. Here we are in 19... And which is grape and cable we see here, nutmeg stain on custard, we would call it. The interesting thing about custard is people always ask, why are certain people's pieces stippled? And people were like, well, the mold got old, so they wanted to get rid of a scratch, so they put stippling over it. My opinion is they introduced custard glass, and they put a nutmeg stain on it, and it didn't stick, and they wanted to stipple it to give the place for the nutmeg stain to attach. It just looks better. And so when they you see a lot of custard stippled. Now the Graping Gothic arches is not, and that is over here. And you can see it in both gold banded and nutmeg stained, but that is a version that's not stippled. So they went and they took the grape and cable mold that they were making carnival glass in, and they stippled the mold. Well, then after that, somebody must have ordered it, because we do have an example of a stippled butter dish in carnival glass. So maybe this was made after they took the molds and added stippling. That's mine, so I can hold it up. So that's just interesting, but this is 95 cents. We're up from 67 to 95 cents a set. If you go to the next one. And here we are in 1923 and 1924. We're still making table sets. This is Butterfly and Berry from Fenton in a golden glow iridescence, which is marigold. 1923 and 1924. So they're still making these table sets, but now they're $1.45. So they've gone from 16 cents up to $1.45. So when we complain about the cost of gasoline, remember what it was like in 1923. It's up to $1.45. So they did make this over a period of time. So if you go to no, go back. Can you go back? We'll stop there for a minute. Okay, so I do want to go through a couple interesting things about table sets, or just some notes, and I am going to go back here. Nobody else do this. Thank you. Don't try this at home. But what is a table set? Well, it has to be a 4-piece table set. You have your covered butter, you have a creamer, a covered sugar, and a spooner. So you're in an antique mall and you find a creamer in carnival glass. Does that mean you have the beginnings of a table set? It's a long display, so I'm walking. But just because you find a creamer doesn't mean you have the beginnings of a table set. This is a grape and cable creamer. This is a grape and cable sugar. But it's not the same as a creamer from a table set. It's much smaller. So this is a breakfast set. A breakfast set is 2 pieces, comes in a creamer and a sugar, and they're typically smaller in stature than the full-size table set pieces. Now there's only a couple patterns that you'll find breakfast sets in with a table set. I know you have grape and cable. You have Cosmos and Kane here. They made a breakfast set in Cosmos and Kane, and I've seen them together. And if they weren't next to each other, I'd never know which is the table set creamer and which is the breakfast set creamer, because they're that close in shape. But we do have friends that own both of them in white, and they put them next to each other, and you're like, oh, one's bigger than the other. So there are a handful of patterns that have both, mine too, so I can pick them up, have both the breakfast set size and the table set size. But there are also breakfast sets that don't have a matching table set. And this is Imperial flute, the small, you can just see the size of these. You have your sugar and your creamer. There is a flute pattern in a table set, but we're looking here at Northwood's marigold and green. Marked Northwood, much larger. So this is Imperial flute, and that's Northwood flute. Now there are a lot of patterns that just come in a breakfast set. I'm not going to attempt to list them all, but just an example of a piece that is a breakfast set. So we understand that there are breakfast sets and there are table sets, and the table sets are the full-size pieces. a lot of times I look at these and I keep asking myself, why are these finials not iridized? That finial is not iridized. I think that's where the snap was. And they covered it up with a snap and they sprayed it. Take the snap off and the finial is not iridized. You'll see that in quite a few of the table sets. Here we have butterfly and berry. And purple, not iridized, not iridized. Here we have Northwood's cherry and cable. And if you can really see that that's crystal and that's marigold. So somebody was holding this as they sprayed. But then you have other examples. Grape and Gothic. Is that finial iridized? Very much so. So not exactly sure why this finial is iridized, but other finials are not. So you'll see in the orange tree, not in the blue, not iridized. Springtime, it is iridized. So you will find differences. Here's a hanging cherries finial, not iridized. So just an interesting, so it's not worn off iridization. It's just, I think it's the way it was made, how they grasped it to hold it. What we have, I often look at pictures and I'm like, how do you tell the difference between a spooner and the base of a sugar? Can be hard. So there's two tricks. There's two ways, two different types of covers to a covered sugar. This is a spooner. It has a fluted or scalloped top, and it even has sawtooth edge. So this is a spooner. But if you look at the covered sugar, that also has a scalloped top and a sawtooth edge. So if you saw that on eBay, just from the side view, how would you know? Well, one way you would have to ask, can I see the inside? And this has a rim on the interior where the lid would sit. So typically, if both the covered sugar and the spooner have serrated tops, some shaping, you have to look for the interior rim. And that would tell you this is missing a lid. Would never have had a lid. So that, you see type in, here it is in Magnolia. It's got a scalloped top, even though it's a covered. But in each one of these cases, the lid fits down inside the piece and sits on a rim. You see that in various, here's your orange tree. I'm looking for examples, but here's your dahlia. All those tops sit inside. The second version is where it's easier to tell because I'm not going to pick up that one. That's ice blue. But here we have Peacock at the fountain. The spooner has a scalloped top, but the cover sugar has a flat top. So it's more obvious that this is the base of a sugar because it's missing the scalloping along the edge. And these lids do not fit inside because there is no rim to hold it. They actually fit over the piece and would sit over the lid or the base. So this type of cover is found in Peacock at the Fountain. You have a smooth top, and you see various. First one, here's hanging cherries. You have the scalloped spooner top and a flat covered sugar top, but you'll see that example. So it's either one of the two ways, a flat top where the lid sits over, or a scallop top where the lid fits in. And of course we know that every rule has an exception, and that is your grape and Gothic arches. Here is the spooner that has a flat top. And here's the covered sugar that also has a flat top. And the lid fits over the top, so there's no interior rim. So if you saw a picture of one of these on eBay, how would you know? Well, you'd have to know that one is bigger than the other. This is bigger. It's heavier, it's wider than the spooner. But this is one case where it's very difficult. It doesn't have an interior rim, and they both have the same type of top. So that is one aspect of a table set. Another aspect is when you're looking for classic era table sets, you have to ask yourself, is it old, is it new? Now we know that certain pieces of Carnival glass are reproduced. So how do we know? Well, we know that the Northwood molds don't exist. So if it's Northwood, it should be old. The Millersburg molds do not exist. It should be old. Imperial molds did survive into the 80s when Imperial closed in 1984. So if you're looking at a Luster Rose water set or table set here, they did make reproductions, and you'd have to look for the IG. So Luster Rose, because it's Imperial, because they stayed open until 1984, you do have the possibility of it being a reproduction. Fenton didn't close until 2011. So could a Fenton piece be I have seen reproduced leaf tears pieces. So yes, you'd have to know. And Fenton did mark their pieces. Imperial. Dugan's a problem because Cy Wright found the Dugan molds in a barn, bought them from a scrapper, and started having companies like Westmoreland make pieces out of old Dugan molds. So we know you see Dahlia water sets that are new. You see different Dahlia pieces because Westmoreland made them, Fenton made them, and even Mosser today owns. So you have to know the difference between a Westmoreland piece and, say, an old Dugan piece. Millersburg, the molds are gone. So what do we find today? Marked Fenton, we find the Hanging Cherries creamer and the spooner. I forget. I think it's just the spooner. It's not the covered one. But in contemporary glass, we find two Hanging Cherries pieces. Were they made from the old Millersburg mold? No. Fenton made a new mold. With all the molds they had in the warehouse, why did they make a Hanging Cherries creamer and sugar? I don't know. That mold today sits in the Millersburg Glass Museum in Millersburg, Ohio. And Steve and I went there last year, and we have a picture of the mold. And it is marked Fenton, but it's very close to an original-looking Millersburg piece. So you won't find Millersburg being reproduced, but Fenton did copy the Hanging Cherries version. And like I said, Northwood, their molds don't exist. But Steve and I are out antiquing in the very, very beginning. And we're a bunch of idiots. And we find this in an antique mall in New Hampshire. I'm like, oh my God, it's ice blue. And we bought it for $50. We thought we had struck gold. You know? So we did, all we had was the Edwards book time. And so I do remember running out to the car and looking up grape and cable covered butter dish. And I'm like, ice blue. So I ran back in the store and bought this for $50. I get it home, 10 minutes later, I'm swearing. It's not real. I'm like, but it's marked Northwood. The circle's not right. It's not a complete circle. It's a true fake. It's not made from the original mold. It's got a fake mark. Somebody made this to fool me, and they did. So, of course, this is the piece that started the whole lawsuit. The American Carnival Glass Association sued to have cease and desist. You can't use the Northwood mark. This and the Grape Delight nut bowl were both marked Northwood. And I think it was a dealer who asked L.G. Wright, who asked Mosser to make them. So it's they had to find out where they came from, and they didn't obviously know. And I did acquire a box of documents, and in that box was the entire legal file for the American Carnival Glass Association in their lawsuit against these individuals. And it was a simple cease and desist. Just stop. Don't do this. Don't use this mark. Change it. And that's when L.G. Wright started using the W and things like that. American spent a lot of money, and I know different clubs donated money to American. HOACGA donated some money. And American spent more than they were awarded at the very end. But they did win the lawsuit, or they did win the cease and desist. And so what do I do with this piece? I keep it as a reminder to remember that knowledge is power. And it's pretty. But I keep it as a learning tool, as an experience that, we all can be fooled into thinking that we have something. I'm still looking for a real ice blue one. So I did want to go through quickly 37 patterns. What did I do with my handout? I just put it down. Sorry. So if we go back to the handout, I'll just quickly go through, but they are in so please feel free to come up and look at them. But they are in alphabetical order, starting on the left, your left. On the bottom row, they start with A, so they go all along the back, the first row, and then they jump back to the left on the second row, and then they jump back to the third row and the fourth row. So that's what we'll do. The first pattern we have is Acorn Burrs by Northwood. It's here in 3 different colors, purple, marigold, and green, which seem to be the Acorn Burrs colors. Next, we have Apple Blossom by Northwood, a newer set, quite rare. You just don't find it. And it only comes in this blue color, right? That we know of. Then we have Beaded Shell by Dugan, and this has been reproduced, the Beaded Shell. It's part of the Dugan molds that were purchased by purchased by Cy Wright and reproduced. Yeah, you were fooled? So, welcome to the club, Dave. Butterfly and Berry by Fenton. We have it in green. Marigold, purple, blue. Cherry and Cable by Northwood. These are marked. One of the first sets made in Carnival glass. You know, only found in Marigold. We have Circle Scroll in Marigold. The purple set is over there. We have Cosmos and Cane in white and honey amber. This is a U.S. glass piece. We have Dahlia by Dugan. And this we have in the white. We have white with gold decoration. We have it in marigold. And we have it in purple. So we counted 89 sets the other day. So we were pretty impressed. Here we have Fentonia by Fenton in marigold. And we also have Fentonia in a custard with nutmeg stain. Field Thistle by U.S. Glass in the marigold. And then at the other end, we're going to start with Flute by Northwood in green and marigold. And then we have the Grape and Cable collection, Amethyst. We have purple, electric green, marigold, ice green, custard with nutmeg. And Wally and I were talking, and this ice green is very hard to find. So that's an honor to see that. Here we have Grape and Gothic Arches by Northwood in the marigold, the green, the pearl with custard, and the blue, and the pearl with nutmeg stain. And when you say, well, okay. And then we have Millersburg Hanging Cherries in the purple and the marigold and the green. We have Hobstar by Imperial. And this is what I like. I just love Imperial Purple, like Gary Senkar talked about last night. There's your Imperial Purple, Gary. It comes in purple, and we have it also in marigold. We have Inverted Feather by Cambridge. Not a very common pattern in any shape. But we have it in marigold and purple. Inverted Strawberry. I think it's all the way down there. But Inverted Strawberry I have listed in marigold, green, and purple. And then we have Leaf Tears by Fenton in the marigold. And I have seen this reproduced. But I believe it only comes in marigold. You think there's a blue set, really? We have the Imperial Luster Rose in purple and marigold. And like I said, these have been reproduced. We have Magnolia Fenton, and that's enameled, and it's on a smooth raised blank. And I have seen a picture of that set without the enamel. So it's just the smooth raise. Here you have Maple Leaf by Dugan in the purple and the marigold. Octagon in purple by Imperial. Orange Tree by Fenton in white, blue. And then we have the Palm Beach by U.S. Glass. And we have it in marigold, or honey amber and white. We also have it in non-carnival examples of Vaseline Opal and Blue Opal. And then we'll jump over to the Peach set by Northwood in white. The interesting thing I have noted here is this is the only set not made in marigold, is the Peach. Peacock at the Fountain. Like I was saying earlier, that's in a multitude of colors because it was made over several years. But we have marigold, blue, white, green, ice blue, and purple. Then we go to Singing Birds by Northwood in green, marigold, and purple. Springtime, also by Northwood, marigold, purple, and green. Water lily and cattails in marigold, so we're in the W's. And wreath cherry by Dugan in purple, white with cherries, with red cherries and gold trim, marigold, so different variations. This is circle scroll, and the marigold version of circle scroll is down there. And this is country kitchen. So these were, I believe, late entries, but wonderful to see them. I do want to go to the second page now, and we have non-carnival examples. And these you can see down here in our crystal display. But we have Palm Beach, Octagon, Ohio Star by Millersburg, Memphis by Northwood in crystal and crystal with gold. We have Hob Star and Feather, frosted feather, or frosted crystal, and we have regular crystal. We have Water Lily in crystal. We have Singing Birds in crystal with a blue birds. We have a Rising Sunset by U.S. Glass in a Maiden Blush. Is that right? And here we have Cambridge's Inverted Feather and Millersburg Country Kitchen. So those are some of the items in non-carnival. Can you move one screen? But here, so 32, we don't have an actual example of a carnival glass version. But here is a picture, so you can find the 4 pieces in carnival glass. So it's one of the 37. The next group is called Orphans, and this has several items in it. It has a hobnail, rising sun, country kitchen, and file. And here's an example of hobnail, and we did get several examples of hobnail out of the auction from tomorrow, and it's in our orphan category. Even though we have all 4 shapes, these are blue, and this is green, and there's the green spooner up there on the picture. But here we have a complete table set, but it's not truly complete because it's not all in the same color. So if we were to find a blue spooner, we could have moved it up to the top. So that is, hobnail is number 33 out of our 37. If we go one more slide. Rising Sun by U.S. Glass. Now, Wally and I did have a conversation about Rising Sun. Here it is in crystal. I've seen advertisements in a U.S. Glass catalog. Is this a U.S. domestic made piece? There's talk that several of these pieces are found in Argentina, so was it made in Argentina? But U.S. Glass did have an export catalog, and they did export glass to South America. So the fact that glass is found in South America doesn't say that it necessarily was made in South America, so it's kind of an open question. We included it in our list of 37. There are examples in marigold, carnival glass, so we included Rising Sun by U.S. Glass. Number 35, Country Kitchen. We did not have a full set, but here it is. We found it afterwards. So we can move 35 to the front page. We have a full set of Country Kitchen. One more. So here we have number 36, File by Imperial. And we remember I opened this presentation with a 1905 ad for crystal file. But here it is in marigold. We have 3 of the 4 pieces. We do not have the covered butter. So here are the 3. Orphan, we're looking, and Wally means orphan, he means he's really looking for that 4th piece. So if anybody has that butter dish, speak up. So that is number 36 on our list of 37. And then the next set that we have listed is things with no complete sets known. So on either end, we have examples. I'll go this way. I talked about the grape and cable stippled butter. The stippled piece is only found in the butter dish. We can't, I don't think the bottled stippled. I think it's just the top is stippled. So we don't have a complete set in stippled. Hobstar band. Here's an example of a spooner. It's down the other end. Again, you're more than welcome to come and view after we're done. I am going to walk down there. But I'll skip honeycomb and clover. Paneled holly in a spooner. The States. This is a butter dish made by U.S. Glass. We don't have a complete set known, but there is an advertisement for States in a table set, so we know they had the molds and we know they made them, but we don't have them or haven't found the complete set in Carnival. Hobstar and feather in ruby stain. So while we have Hobstar and feather in other colors, we don't have in ruby. And there's an orange tree spooner out there in Celeste. Wouldn't that be nice to find a full 4-piece table set in that? But I will walk up and pick up the honeycomb and clover spooner and creamer. So I knew that there was a spooner out there. And so here's the spooner. Two-handled. We know it's a spooner because it has a serrated top and it's scalloped top. There's no interior rim. So this has to be a spooner. I also know that on Dave Doty's site, there is a picture of a butter dish. So here we have a spooner and a butter dish. So we're missing 2 pieces. This shows up on eBay, buy it now for $30. What do? I hit buy it now. Here is a creamer in honeycomb and clover. I don't know if any others exist, but we now have a spooner, a creamer, and a pitcher of a butter. So I don't have any proof of a covered sugar. So there's the 4th piece, but I have no proof of a covered sugar. But there is proof of 3 of the 4 pieces. So this came in the mail. Was very happy to get it. It's one of those pieces that if you didn't know, it's like, oh, it's a piece of marigold. And you just walk right by it. But if you know the pattern, you know the rarity, you know what exists, it's not just a piece of marigold. So I bought this and it showed up in the mail. So that is number 36. No, that's not number 36. I'm jumping ahead. That is in the list of no complete sets known. So that brings us to our very last submission at the bottom of the second page, number 37, Stork and Rushes. And this is in the grouping called Not Included in Display. Does nobody here own one? You own one? Okay. Dave, very hard to find. So there is a listing on eBay of a set that sold in 2005 for $400. So there it is. So I go on eBay when I'm talking to Wally about this, and I'm like, geez, it's not going to be in the display. I'd love to just get an example of one of the 4 pieces. So I hop onto eBay and I search Stork and Rushes. And this bottom picture shows up. Here it is, a spooner. Dugan Marigold Spooner, Stork and Reeds, not Stork and Rushes, but Stork and Reeds, antique carnival glass. And I'm looking at this picture right here on eBay. And it's a buy it now. I was 2 seconds away from hitting the buy it now button. Because I'm like, there it is. that looks as old to me as anything. And I'm like, this is great. I'm going to have an example in the display of number 37. I hit the arrow to scroll over to the second picture. This comes up. There it is, a W, a squiggly W with an underline circled. That is LG Wright. So we were talking about Dugan molds haven't been purchased, made as reproductions. So I was like on the verge of saying we have 37, and you know, it was like $30 on eBay, and I'm like, well, no, I'm not buying it. I'm not, you know, I'm not saying it's not worth $30, but I was looking for classic. Absolutely, it is the piece, and in marigold, if I saw that, I wouldn't question it being old in that color. So I was thinking, yeah, I found it. You know, found a piece just to include in the display. But I moved over. So I did go to Hooked on Carnival, and I found these two pieces listed as having sold. One's a creamer, one's a spooner. So individual pieces have sold. This sold on eBay. You know, I don't have a picture of the bottom. Maybe it's LG Wright. I don't know. But that is number 37. There is evidence that it does exist. But again, it was reproduced, so we can look. So here we have 37 table sets, patterns. I think I've talked about most everything. Here's an example of Rising Sun in marigold, the butter dish. An example of a hobnail by Millersburg. Now this is not on the list. Northwood, Plums, and Cherries. Not sure who brought this. Who? Hi, David. So this has an interior rim. So is it missing a lid? Yeah. Yep. So here we have plums and cherries, and I've only seen a handful of plums and cherries in my life. I once took my picture holding a plums and cherry tumbler because I was very excited to hold that at the Cecil Lloyd and Cecil Whitley auction in St. Louis. So Steve took my picture, and Bob Smith purchased it. And then there are examples of plums and cherries in these table set pieces. But again, it's one of those no complete sets known. I think I talked about everything else. There are a couple, like I said, the hobnail pieces at the end, but there are known sets. It's just the colors that we're missing. So that is US-made classic era table sets. Carl.
I collect inverted sets. Has no hand.
There's no hint.
The old catalog pictures. I don't know what happened. I think you're fiscal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of spooners don't have handles. So, yeah. You know, we have about 10 table sets at home. So I collect, but you know, I collect everything or anything, but I know that table set collecting is all about getting 4 pieces that match in color, and it becomes an obsession when you just need that. You have one that just doesn't quite match the other 3, and you might spend a lifetime. Well, you will spend a lifetime searching for that elusive piece. But I think it's amazing that this all came together, and again, I want to thank everyone who had a part in it, and I just want to say thank you to everyone.
it.